Hi, this is Susie with the 5 Waiting Wombs, and this week I'm talking about pregnancy tests, when you should test, how to test, and the pros and cons of testing too soon. So with this topic, I think a lot of it is subjective and it's really just my opinion and how I feel about it. So agree to disagree with me if you do or if you don't. I think we all kind of do something different. As far as when to test, I mean, you can look at pregnancy test boxes and some of them will say that they'll detect the HCG in your blood as soon as 5 days before your missed period. So some people feel that they want to test, at 9 days past ovulation, and you may or may not get a positive. You have to have a certain level of the hormone in your urine in order to even get a positive pregnancy test. The best way to test, they say morning urine is always the best because the hormone level is the strongest in the morning. That's first morning urine, like as soon as you wake up in the morning, you haven't peed at all. First morning urine is the best way to test. Follow the package directions. Don't wait 2 or 3 hours and then read a pregnancy test. They'll tell you to look at the test, wait, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever the box says, and that's when you should be reading your test results. So, definitely follow the directions, leave it sitting still, no blowing on it, no waving it around, no opening it. I've seen some people take pregnancy tests apart and look at the insides and look for the line and do it under a black light. And I mean, trust me, I know more than anyone that you will do anything to see that pregnancy test line, and you'll hold it up to a light and imagine a line because you want to see that second line so bad. But if you have to go through all that work, that's just kind of ridiculous, I think. I think it's unnecessary as well. I think that test, and if it's negative, wait a few days and test again. As far as when to test, I always, I kind of relate this to weighing yourself. Some people like to weigh themselves every single day. Some people weigh themselves several times a day. Some people watch their weight and weigh themselves once a week, once every 2 weeks. Your weight fluctuates all the time, and different times of the day, it's different. And I think, for me personally, I would go crazy if I weighed myself every day or several times a day. I think the same can be said with pregnancy tests. If you are testing every single day and you start testing as early as 6 days past ovulation, 7 days past ovulation, 8 days, you're probably too early to be testing, and you probably aren't going to get your BFP. And it can drive you crazy to see negative after negative pregnancy tests. Just like I relate it to the scale, I kind of feel the same way about testing. I always tried to wait until the day my period was due before taking my pregnancy tests. Now granted, there were months where I had symptoms and I was convinced I was pregnant, and I might have tested a couple days before my period was due, but in general I would always wait until 13 or 14 DPO before testing. And again, this is subjective, this is just my opinion, but I think I would go crazy because I would have thoughts if I tested too early of, well, maybe it's just too early. Maybe that's all it is. I really am pregnant, but it's just too early to know. And then so for days I'd be wondering and anxious about it and testing and waiting and trying to find that line. Or if I just tried not to think about it and tried not to worry about it, and then I just kind of waited, and if my period came, it came, and if it didn't, then I tested. And for me, I think that was the pro of not testing too soon, is I didn't get so crazy in my head about it. And it wasn't the only thing I was focused on. And I know they always say that you get pregnant when you're not thinking about it and when you're not worried about it. And I know that's the most annoying thing to hear, and I hated hearing that as well. But there is some truth to that. The month I got pregnant, really didn't think I was pregnant. Really just tested, really just to convince myself that I wasn't. Because I knew my period was coming and it was just a day late or something, and just kind of thought, well, why not? So yeah, those would be, I think, the the cons of testing too soon is you get too wrapped up in your head about it. But it is different for every individual. Maybe some people really feel they like testing early and they can't wait. So again, this is just my opinion. We all kind of do something different, but I hope that kind of explained a little bit about the pros, the cons of testing too soon. You might get a false negative and really be pregnant, and it's just too early, and then you're all confused. And so the pros of waiting would be it's a true result, because by 13 DPO, if you're getting a negative, you're not pregnant. By 14 DPO, that's pretty much, if you were pregnant, the hormone would be in your system by then. So it really is a true result when you're taking a pregnancy test, because if you're taking it too soon, it's not really a true result, because it might just be too soon. And unfortunately, a lot of the symptoms of pregnancy are the same as symptoms for your cycle. So it can be really confusing and really mess with your head. And pregnancy tests are expensive, so it's kind of a pity to waste them. So I hope that kind of gives you my views on pregnancy tests, and to each their own. And lots of baby dust, and good luck to everyone trying to conceive.